everyone, welcome to Nutritious Lifestyles. I'm Tricia Silverman. I'm a dietitian, a fitness instructor, and a wellness coach, and I'm very happy to share with you our fun topic today, nutrition and sleep, fascinating connections. So we're going to talk about great things that you can do to get better sleep, how you can eat to get better sleep, and we'll also talk about sleep hygiene, which means sleep habits. A lot of what I'm chatting about today, you can read about in Dr. Bruce's wonderful book, and this is the Sleep Doctor's Diet Plan. You could also read the studies that we talk about. Many of the studies I've read are on the National Sleep Foundation, available through their journal. And Dr. Bruce also has a free ebook on his site, which I highly recommend. On my website, I'm going to upload 2 handouts for you, so those will be available. So feel free to check out my website. That's www.triciasilverman.com, and you can have a couple of handouts. So we'll talk more about those as we move along today. The first thing that I want to mention is that both insufficient sleep and poor quality sleep may make your body want to store fat and not burn it. And that comes directly from Dr. Bruce's book. So it's very, very important to get good quality sleep. So we'll talk more about how to actually get that. Harvard Nutrition did a huge study on nurses, and what they found is that self-reported sleep restriction impacts your ability to burn calories and increases the risk of weight gain. So are you self-restricting your sleep? What that might mean is if you're on Facebook late at night, that means you're restricting your sleep because you're up late doing something else. So we want to think about turning down the lights a bit, dimming your lights. You want to turn off electronics, turn off the TV, turn off the cell phone about an hour before you go to bed. So that's one of those great sleep habits tips that can really help you to get better sleep. Now, the best way to decrease your weight is to increase good quality sleep and to eat a really healthy diet. So what is a really healthy diet? Well, I have here, this is choosemyplate.gov, and what you'll see here is that half of the plate should be fruits and vegetables. So half of what we eat, fruits and vegetables, and then a quarter of our plate, healthy whole grains. So what would that mean? Well, maybe that's brown rice, maybe that's whole wheat pasta, maybe that's quinoa, millet, amaranth. There's so many great whole grains out there. Then a quarter of the plate, protein. So what protein is best? Well, I have my 2 favorites, and that's beans and fish. Beans are a food of longevity, and fish is full of omega-3 fats, particularly salmon and bluefin and trout, anchovies and tuna, and it's good to get the light tuna. I think I have a little can of it sneaking around somewhere, but to get the light tuna versus the albacore tuna, because the light tuna has less mercury in it. And you can also do canned salmon and pouched salmon. So a quarter of your plate protein, then chicken and turkey, also good choices. We want to decrease the red meat in your diet. And then they do have dairy on my plate. I think a healthy diet can have dairy, or you can have a healthy diet without dairy. You just want to make sure that you're getting calcium and vitamin D in your diet. And if you can't get enough through your diet, then you want to get that through supplementation and ask your doctor or dietitian for assistance with that. So it's important to get a balanced diet to get good quality sleep. And also, again, to help lose weight, sleep is really important. Now, studies have shown that not getting enough sleep can increase your cravings. So there was a study out of the University of Chicago where they deprived these guys of sleep. One guy was so hungry that he said he could eat his, guess what? Pillow. He said he could eat his pillow. So if you're not getting enough sleep, you might get really hungry. Now, instead of your pillow, you're probably going to crave things like junk food. So these kinds of things, right? And you might also be craving bread, pasta. So people tend to crave carbohydrate-rich foods when they're when they're lacking sleep. Now, while I have my pillow out, I want to show you this. So what studies have found is that those getting 5 or less hours of sleep are 73% more likely to be obese than those getting 7 to 9 hours. So 7 to 9 hours is the recommended amount of sleep per night. And we're going to just put that pillow back. All right, so as I was mentioning, the guys in that study, they got so hungry, their hunger hormone ghrelin increased, and their satiety, their fullness hormone decreased. So they're more hungry, less full. What was interesting at the end of the study, they let them get their sleep and their cravings went away. So they weren't craving food. So are you having increased cravings? It could be from just not getting enough sleep. So again, the 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep really important. And again, that balanced diet is important as well. Now, another thing that's very interesting about sleep and nutrition, and weight loss is that just getting more sleep, what that does is actually reduces the opportunity to eat. So if you were going to bed at 12 o'clock and you were eating at 10 or 11, now if you go to bed at 11 o'clock, maybe you can cut off that snack that you're having at night. So just something to think about. Now there's really interesting sleep and obesity trends, and I find these really shocking. So in 1960, the obesity rate in adults was 13.4%. By 2010, it increased to 35%. Huge increase. The number of sleep people were getting in the early 60s, on average 8 to 8.9 hours a night. Now, in the 2000s, it's around 6 hours a night. So people have gained weight over time and their sleep has gone down. Now there's other reasons for that too, and you know them. The portion sizes have grown, right? At restaurants, everything's value size, so you can get a lot for your dollar. We want to think more about quality when we buy food, not quantity, not how much can I get for my dollar at these restaurants that are really promoting you can get huge portions for a lower price. We want to look more at quality of the food. That's what's really important for your body to function optimally. So we want to increase that sleep. Now, one sleep issue I want to mention that's associated with obesity is sleep apnea. Now, sleep apnea is when people are constantly waking up through the night, and sometimes snoring is an indication of that, but you have to check with your doctor. But if you have sleep apnea and you're not getting enough sleep, that can cause a vicious cycle, because now you might be craving more food, which can cause you to gain more weight. Well, why do heavier people tend to have sleep apnea? Well, it's all of that excess fat tissue that goes around here. So if you just gently put your hands up to your neck, you can just feel that it's a little harder to breathe. And if you can picture a lot of excess fat tissue in this area, and it can be very, very difficult. So there's a machine called the CPAP machine, and people use that at night to help get their sleep. And I highly recommend it if you have sleep apnea, because if you lose weight, you potentially can cure your sleep apnea. And if you're not getting enough sleep, it's going to be hard to lose weight. So if you use that CPAP machine, that can help you get enough sleep so that you're not craving a lot of food. So something to look into. I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about the stages of sleep. So you have stages 1, 2, 3, and 4, and those are known as non-REM sleep, non-rapid eye movement sleep. And then you have rapid eye movement sleep. In stages 1 and 2, you're in light sleep. This is when you basically first fall asleep, and you might wake up again and not even realize that you fell asleep. And then you have stages 3 and 4, which are deeper sleep. In that deep sleep, your body restores itself physically. So if you get a cut, if you get an injury, if you have an operation, you want to make sure you're getting enough sleep, because your body restores itself in the deeper, in stages 3 and 4 of sleep. Now, in the rapid eye movement sleep, so stages 1, 2, 3, and 4, the ones we discussed, those are non-rapid eye movement sleep. In rapid eye movement sleep, your body is basically paralyzed except for your heart's beating, your lungs are working, and your eyes are moving. And what happens in rapid eye movement sleep, this is where your brain restores itself. So we cement memories in that stage of sleep. And we process information. So it's very important to go through all of the stages. So the way that it works is that it takes about 90 minutes for you to go through one stage. What is one stage? Well, or I should say, sorry, one cycle. So one cycle is you go through light sleep to dark, back to light, and then you go to rapid eye movement. And that's 90 minutes. And then you go through another cycle, light to deep to light, and then rapid eye movement. And throughout the night, optimally you get 5 cycles. 5 90-minute cycles is about 7.5 hours of sleep. So we do need, again, that around 7 to 9 to get through all the stages so that we can physically and mentally restore our body so you can wake up feeling really refreshed. So it's good to know about those stages of sleep. Now, I want to talk about the sleep hygiene and the sleep habits and what's really important. So I have my 8 great sleep tight tips. And this is going to be, I'm going to put that on my website for you so that you can check out these tips. So one of the things that's important is to have a sleep schedule. It's really important to go to bed at the same time each night and to get up at the same time each morning, even on weekends. Now, the second one is to eliminate caffeine, especially after 2 p.m. Now, some people may need to get rid of it altogether for the best results. I am one of them. So back in the 90s when I did my dietetic internship, I had severe insomnia. I was taking one of those sleep medications over the counter to go to bed. And then in the morning, I was so groggy that I was drinking caffeine all day to wake up. And then I'd go home and I was wired, but I was tired, but I couldn't go to sleep. So then I would take that over-the-counter sleep medication. And it just was a vicious cycle, and I really felt terrible. Back in the mid-90s, before the internet got really big, I went to this health spa and I saw a little ad. It was a really tiny ad in Shape magazine for this health spa in Florida. It was the Regency Health Spa. And I thought, wow, it looks really great. I don't know if it'd ever be this great, but I'm going to take a chance, leap of faith, and just go. And back then you couldn't really look it up to learn about it. So once I got there, I learned it was a vegan health spa. And that was fascinating to me because I wasn't living a vegan lifestyle, and I did for that week. And one of the things they also do at that health spa, besides vegan, meaning vegan is basically strict vegetarian, so you're eating no animal foods. And another thing that they do is they were doing at that health spa was no caffeine and no salt. So it was a really interesting week. After a few days of no caffeine, I started to sleep really, really well. The best sleep I had in over a year. So it was pretty amazing. A thing that you want to know about that's important is when you give up caffeine, you can get headaches. So you might want to talk to your doctor about something temporary over the counter just to get rid of those headaches. But I did experience them, and they do go away. And then I just felt great, and I was sleeping really well. Now, I teach classes all over the state and now actually around the country as well. And I've learned some interesting stories from people. And one story was from a pilot, and he was having a lot of trouble with sleep. And he finally just kicked the caffeine habit, and then he started to sleep really well. And when I was teaching that class that he was in, there's another guy in that class that was so motivated by the pilot story that he decided to give up caffeine. And then a few weeks later, he reported that his energy went up and he felt really great. So you never know how good you might feel until you give up the caffeine. And coffee can also be, if you have irritable bowel, or you just something in your stomach not feeling too great, coffee may be irritating. Some people may be more sensitive than others. So it's just something to think about. But you can end up with actually more energy when you give up caffeine, and a lot of people don't realize that. Things you can do to wake up in the morning, well, some people just will have coffee in the morning. If you actually eat breakfast rather than have coffee, you're actually fueling yourself for the day. So it's something to think about, having a nice breakfast in the morning time and using that to help you wake up. And then exercise is so wonderful to help you wake up, and getting some sunlight early in the day, some sensible sunlight can really be helpful too. And getting some sunlight can help you get blue rays from the sun, and those help you to make melatonin to help you sleep better later on. Now, just talking about melatonin, I want to show you this. So melatonin is a sleep hormone that helps us to sleep better. You don't want to take it in the supplemental form without the help of a doctor. It's really not good to do that. You can get it naturally. So these are Wyman's Dark Sweet with red tart cherries. And I found that Market Basket in Massachusetts carries these, and some other supermarkets do. I sometimes see them at Whole Foods. The brand is there. Like, they also carry wonderful blueberries, but I love these because they have dark sweet and red tart, and that natural melatonin is in the red tart. Another thing you could do is get this red tart cherry juice at Trader Joe's. Just want to be careful with juice because the calories add up quickly. So in an 8-ounce cup, there's 130 calories. So I just want you to be aware of that. Now, with the cherries, one thing that I do is I put, if you measure out a cup, it's 80 calories, and I put that in a bowl for I call it a sweet treat. And when I have a craving for ice cream, I love to do this. So the frozen cherries in a bowl, and I sprinkle either cocoa powder over it or carob powder. Carob powder is similar to cocoa powder, but it doesn't have theobromine in it. Theobromine is what's in cocoa powder and chocolate that wakes us up like caffeine. So if you're having trouble sleeping, the chocolate may be an issue too, and not only coffee, but also tea. So with caffeine is important to think about decreasing in the diet, and the melatonin, as I mentioned, natural melatonin in red tart cherries. So back to caffeine just for a moment. So greater than 4 cups of coffee a day is associated with earlier mortality in men and women. So you just want to be careful not to overdo your coffee. The dietary guidelines say 400 milligrams a day. In an 8-ounce cup of coffee, you have roughly up to about 180 milligrams of caffeine. And in a tea, you have around 80 or 90. It varies by product, and your chocolate products as well will have it, and also your sodas and your colas, but also there are some other beverages that will soda and or pop, whatever you might call it, depending which area you're in, but that also can have caffeine, so you want to check your label to be sure. All right, so let's talk about, let me just give you what the experts say about the caffeine. So you might want to give it up at 2 p.m. and see how you feel. If you're still not sleeping well, maybe 12 p.m., maybe 10 a.m. Caffeine can stay in your body a long time. That's why I recommended maybe it's better to not have it at all. But the experts do say to give it up after 2 p.m. and later to not have it. But that's really up to you to try and see what works best for your body. Now, alcohol, we want to limit alcohol, especially 3 hours before bedtime. What alcohol can do is sometimes you might feel like it's helping you fall asleep, but it actually causes us to wake up later on, sometimes to go to the bathroom. Now, alcohol also interferes with the deeper stages of sleep. You want to get those deep stages because that's when your memories get cemented and when we restore ourselves mentally. So very important to think about decreasing the alcohol in the diet. And if you do like it, then 3 hours before bed, we want to limit the alcohol. The limits for alcohol are 5-ounce glass of wine for women, or 1 per day, and for men it's 2 5-ounce glasses of wine per day. or 2 drinks per day. One drink could be a beer or 1.5 ounce of alcohol, like a vodka. So you just want to be careful and stay within your moderate limits. And again, try to limit it 3 hours before you go to bed. Now, what about exercise? Is that going to keep you up? Well, some people, if it's too close to bed, may keep them up. And other people are fine if they exercise close to bed. You have to figure out what works best for you. Maybe for you, working out in the morning might be a better, it just might be a better choice. Number 5 is get some sensible sun in the early part of the day. I mentioned that before, but one thing that I want to add to that is that a lot of people, when they work, they stay inside and they sit in front of their computer and they eat during their lunch. I speak to so many people that have sedentary jobs. You really want to get up. You want to get up at least 3 minutes of every hour at your job, but you really want to get up and move around. And it'll make you more productive if you get up during your lunch and go out for a walk. This way your blood is circulating and you're getting that nice endorphin rush from just moving your body. And it's just so good for you rather than being seated that whole day. So it's a nice opportunity to get outside, and that's when you can get a little bit of that sunlight that can be really helpful for you, besides helping to make melatonin later on, it can help you to produce some vitamin D, which is really nice. All right, number 6 is that winding down 1 hour before bed that we mentioned earlier. So very important to dim your lights, turn your electronics off. And then number 7 was eat that balanced diet. And then number 8 was eat a varied diet. So what do I mean by this? Well, I do a lot of health fairs around the state, and I'll ask people, I'll tell people I'm a dietitian, do you have any nutrition questions for me? And some people do, and other people say no, and then I say, well, I have one for you. Are you eating your vegetables at both lunch and dinner? And so many people aren't, and it's really a bad habit to get into, so we want to eat our vegetables at least at both lunch and dinner, and then maybe can we have them as part of a snack too. But we really should, or part of breakfast. You could put them in your smoothie, you can put them in an omelet, but vegetables are a key to longevity, long life, and weight control. They're so important for us. So what do I mean by a varied diet? Well, let me move on to fruit for a second. So when I ask people a lot of times, are you eating fruit? They say, oh yeah, I have an apple and a banana every day. Well, that's good, you're getting your fruit in. But I want you to vary it because there's so many wonderful phytochemicals, which are plant chemicals, and nutrients in berries and melon and citrus. So you want to make sure you're getting a variety of foods. And if you look at my rainbow poster here, you'll see a rainbow variety of foods. So you want to think about shopping when you go in the supermarket, shopping for a rainbow. And that's both with your fruits and your vegetables. So for vegetables, what vegetables are you currently eating? Are you getting your greens in? Greens are so important for us. They're chock full of folic acid. And folic acid may reduce your risk for heart disease, for depression. So we want to make sure that we're getting our leafy greens in. And then we want to make sure we're getting our cruciferous vegetables. So are you eating cabbage, broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, bok choy, watercress? These are great vegetables to get in. They're potent cancer fighters, specifically breast cancer as well. So you want to get those in. So get a variety in. And again, this variety helps with sleep. Now, I just want to change gears. And on the other end of the table, I have the Go for the Whole Grain poster. So just like I mentioned eating a varied diet within your fruits and vegetables, eat a varied diet within your whole grains. So I have oatmeal right here. Are you getting oatmeal in? Such a great snack to have, or breakfast. So getting your oatmeal is really important. And then I have some whole wheat pasta. How do we know that it's whole grain? Well, the way that we know it's whole grain is that when you turn and look at the ingredient label, you'll see the keyword Durham whole wheat flour. Look for that keyword whole. So this is a whole wheat pasta, And then I have quinoa, which is another really nice green to eat. This happens to be a frozen one from Trader Joe's. And you can, fresh is always best, but I like frozen for people that are busy, that work, or that are on the go. And then I have, it's a sesame seed, sorry about that. I have millet over here. And millet is another whole grain that you might not have had yet. So it might be something to think about trying. And it's actually also gluten-free, which is really wonderful. So those are my 8 great sleep tight tips. And I want to move on and just talk about some snacks that can be helpful for sleep. So Dr. Judith Wertman, who wrote the Serotonin Power Diet, found that eating between 25 to 35 grams of carbohydrate about an hour before you go to bed or an hour before you want to feel calm can help you to induce sleepiness, and it increases your production of serotonin. So this is the other handout I'm going to post on my website. It's Sleepy Snack Ideas. So what I did in this handout is I gave you ideas for 25 to 35 grams of carbohydrate. And I'm going to show you one of the examples right here. And this is cashew cereal. So in the cashew cereal, it's if you get 3/4 cup, let me give it to you exactly right here. That's 26 grams of carbohydrate. So just having that may help induce sleepiness maybe about an hour before you go to bed. Now it's just carbs that can do this trick and not a lot of protein with that. So if you're a diabetic, this might not be the best strategy for you, but it's something to consider. So some other ideas would be 2 cups of air-popped popcorn, 2 biscuits of Barber's shredded wheat cereal, and I have many other ideas that I'll post for you on my website. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you learned a little bit more about sleep and a little bit more about what you can do to eat to get better sleep. Thank you so much for being in my audience today. I wish you the best of luck, health, and happiness. Thank you. Bye-bye.